Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DATAcated Show. My name is Kate Tashney. I'm the founder of DATAcated, and I will be your host for today's show. I am extremely excited to share that we have a very special guest, Christina Stathopoulos. She is the founder of Dare to Data, and I'll bring her up in just a minute. We're going to talk about starting a data business. That's something that we could probably talk about for hours between Christina and I because we've both started a data related business, and we felt like it would be interesting for the audience to hear some of our advice, hear the journey that we went on, especially Christina. She has a very interesting story to tell, given that she actually moved out of the States and sort of is paving her own way and is not doing things in the normal way that people would generally look for progression. So I really can't wait for her to share that story. If you are joining us live, we are taking some questions or comments. So go ahead and use the chat on either LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter, or Christina's LinkedIn as well. We'll be able to see all of those questions and comments coming in. Now, I think I met Christina, I don't know how many years ago, but we've definitely done this before. I'm really excited to bring her back onto the DATAcated Show stage. She's spoken at a couple of my DATAcated conferences, and she's always just been a great supporter of what I'm working on. I'm a great supporter of what she's working on. So I'm really excited to bring her up on our stage here. Christina, welcome to the
Hi.
DATAcated Show.
Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. So I'm super thrilled to have you here. Um, I think for maybe the three people who don't know you, let's do a very quick intro. Tell people, sort of where you started and how you ended up at Dare Data.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm Christina Stathopoulos. I founded Dare to Data over the last year or so. A bit of my background, I'm originally from the US. I'm from North Carolina, but I moved abroad to Spain, which is where I have developed most of my professional career in data, kind of like the opposite route, because most people go the opposite and try to go to the US, and I left. But professionally, I was with Google for over 5 years, Google and Waze, leading data projects and data strategy. And then I left Google at the end of 2022 to start my own thing, which is Dare to Data. Pretty much, I'm on a mission to help individuals and corporations take the next step in their data journey.
Amazing. All right. So you moved to Spain. You made it sound so simple, right? Moving to another country. Did you speak Spanish at the time?
Nothing.
Okay. What
Literally.
year was this?
This was 2012. I moved with nothing of Spanish, and now I'm fluent in Spanish.
Yeah, I mean, you even have a slight accent now when you
I
speak English.
know.
Yes.
Everybody tells me this, especially because I'm from North Carolina. And if anybody knows North Carolina, like the south of the US, they have some special accents. And I
Yeah.
have this very odd, like neutral international accent. And it's been kind of warped because of how much I'm speaking Spanish all day.
Absolutely. And I mean, English wasn't my first language, so I know the
Oh, yeah,
struggle
that's
of
true.
learning.
Yeah.
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 I used to speak Russian at some point, barely. I don't know if you could call that speak. I
That's
didn't go to
difficult.
school.
Very difficult.
It's a different challenge that I feel like sometimes pushes you in a way that some people don't have that push to succeed because now you have to tackle this other barrier. And it looks like you really succeeded. You've been there for 12 years now. And now
Minus the year in New York. I was your neighbor.
okay, that was a whole year. It felt like you were there for a few weeks, honestly.
No, I lived in New York for 1 year. A little
Oh
over
my
a year, I
goodness.
think it was. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, by the way, Scott says hi here. I see he's
Hi,
in the
Scott.
chat. Yes,
Hello.
Scott, another show. I can't stop doing these shows. I'm having too much fun. Um, okay, so did you always know that you wanted to start your own business?
No, I don't think so. I mean, a lot of what I've done has just been going with the flow. The same like moving to Spain. I when I moved, like the idea was to live abroad for a year and then go back home, and that never really happened. I ended up being in Madrid for almost 10 years, then I tried to make a move back home and then I left again. So I kind of just go with the flow. I But at the same time, I will say I kind of had my own business when I came to Spain as well. I always forget this. I worked on my own like freelance when I first came to Spain. It's
Okay.
not like I had my own business. I was freelance. I didn't actually register any business or anything, but I guess that was my first taste of running a business in a way.
Hmm.
And then one side that was not in the data field though. I was actually a business English consultant. That's what I called it. I helped like business leaders, executives with their English in Madrid because the English level was quite low. So I would
Hmm.
meet with them and help them with English, coach them with public speaking and so on, but just helping them with their English. And
Okay.
that was before I did my master's and kind of went back into data. So that was my first taste of it. But
Hmm.
then I never imagined making my own data business. But things kind of fell that way. I felt like it was what I needed to at least try doing, or else I would regret it if I didn't.
Yeah, and I think that's a feeling a lot of entrepreneurs have. Like you have the ability to see a gap, and you're like, okay, I need to fill this need, like for the English business, business freelance business that you had, and now you saw a gap in the data world, right? So tell people about Dare to Data and what gap you're trying to fill there.
Yeah. So we offer like a range of services, but what I like to say is that they fall under the ACE pillars. The ACE pillars are advise, create, and educate. So advise would be anything around like consulting, advising on data strategy, advising on a data career. Create would be content creation, so media partnerships, creation of content on LinkedIn, things like podcasts, and so on. And then educate would be anything educational. I do a lot of that actually because I love it. But things like I'm a professor actually at 3 different universities, so I lecture a lot. And then
You're crazy.
and trainings and public speaking. So all of that falls under education.
And when did you launch Dare to Data?
So when did I myself start, or when did it actually get registered? Because I think we've talked about this before.
When did the world find out
Oh
about?
yeah, the world found out right before Big Data London last year, which was in September. I think that was the time I officially announced it. I had already started, like I had already had this in my plans in 2022 because I was planning to leave Google. So I
Yeah.
left Google at the end of 2022, and then I started off on my own right at the beginning of 2023. That was also when I started all of the paperwork to register a company in Spain. And then we got to September, and that's when I announced it publicly. And that was also when I was starting to finalize paperwork officially in Spain. I didn't want to announce it too early
Yeah.
until things were official.
And that paperwork, that's pretty straightforward, no?
Oh yeah, yeah, really straightforward. Very, very, very much so.
So Christina and I
Not
have
easy.
talked about the difficulties of setting up a business abroad. It's in New Jersey. It's pretty simple. You fill out like 1 or 2 forms. You go to the bank. You get a business account, and you're done. You're in business. What's your process like, Christina?
I would rather not even go into it. No, but I know being from the US, I know a lot of my friends have businesses there, so I know it's quite easy in most states, I think.
Yeah.
Spain is not known for making things easy when it comes to paperwork. It's a very a process that doesn't make a lot of sense. There's just a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of documents, a lot of meetings and so on. And even my business got rejected the first time I submitted all the paperwork. I had to meet with like the notary, the judge, whatever. Everybody approved it, and then for some reason it got rejected, and I had to go back and do another application. It's just not easy. It's not friendly. It's not made to be like a simple thing that you do.
Well, it's like climbing a tough mountain, right? It's very rewarding at the top. You finally made it.
Finally, finally. You gotta fight to get there,
Yeah.
but once you get there, it's nice. The bureaucracy continues forever and ever, but at least you get over like the big hump, and then
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier later on. And then of
Okay.
course I have the difficulty that of course it's everything's is in Spanish. I'm in Spain, so I had to also have everything prepared, and it's all done in Spanish, which is a second language for me. So I had my husband, of course, he's a part of the business. He's native Spanish, so he was helping me with that part just to make sure that we understood everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fluent in English, but even when I get a contract, I sometimes still need to make sure I clearly understand what it is I'm signing, and
Yeah,
having
the
to do that in
legal,
another language, I can't even
yeah,
imagine. Even in Russian, I could never. Like, I would hire all the lawyers. Like, they
yeah,
would need
yeah,
to
yeah. The
figure this
legal
out.
terms are tough.
Yes. So you left Google.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big story, right? You had a great gig, you had a great team, you didn't hate anything about the company. It was a great time for you. So I think some people call that golden handcuffs, where you're paid well, you're happy, but something inside of you was like, okay, I need to do this. Now is the time to go off on my own. Tell us what happened there. What's the story?
Yeah, you're right. It's like golden handcuffs because I was, and we've talked about this before. I was very happy where I was. When I left, I was with Waze. I was with my Waze team, and they were fantastic. I have no complaints. Actually, loved my team, loved the work I was doing. But so why would I leave such a nice situation? I think that there's like a rule that I have in the back of my mind, which is once you've been in a company for 3, 4 years, you need to jump ship typically. So if you want to progress in your career, you should change jobs, change companies. That's the best way to do it because unfortunately no one is rewarding for loyalty anymore. And I think that that's a real pity. But even companies like Google, I don't see them rewarding loyalty in the way that they should. So I had already been at Google for over 5 years. So I
Mhm.
knew that I was over time. Like it was time for me to make a change.
Mhm.
And I coupled that with my move back to Spain as well. I kind of timed it right there. Why not just add a bunch of changes at once? And I did it like that. But that was like the main reason that I wanted to. And then I also thought that since I'm going to jump ship in a way, why not try the entrepreneurial path? And if things don't go as I planned or I'm not happy, I can always go back and try to join the corporate world again. But at least taking advantage of that moment to try doing something on my own.
I think that's a key phrase that a lot of people don't remember when they're trying to make a decision. Like, okay, I'm going to go off on my own, and it's scary. You can always go back. Like,
Of
people will
course. Yeah.
always want your labor, right? Your in exchange for a salary. And you won't always have that opportunity to start or try to start your business. And yes, a lot of businesses fail, but so what? Like, you go out, you fail, you get one life, right? It's an adventure, it's an experience, especially if you can afford to take that risk for a year or 2 years. And I mean, you're going to succeed. We all know that. But like, for the other
Fingers
people,
crossed.
it's going to be great. I know it's been 6 months now, right? About 6 months.
Well,
September
less.
2023. It's
Yeah, well,
March now.
September the company got rejected.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. That's that was your first big
So that
hurdle.
was my first. I thought it was done. Everything was done until like the last step. And then it got pushed back. And then we just had to rewind back a couple steps. It got like approved, everything done in November.
Okay. Okay. So I mean,
So
it's a little baby. It can't even eat solids yet. It's a tiny
yeah,
little
yeah,
baby.
yeah. We gotta be patient. We gotta be patient with it.
And so,
I
do you miss anything about like working at Google, working at a giant
Ye
corporation?
yeah, I mean, of course, there's things that I think no matter where you are, what you're doing, there's things that are pros and cons. Google definitely has a lot of things that I miss. The food, everybody always says, the food was fantastic. Can't lie. The people. So I did, and I don't just say this just to like, because you're supposed to say that. I really was happy with the people that were around me. They were really smart. I worked with really smart people, very clever, and as well just really nice. I was lucky at Waze because I had a nice team. I got along with everybody. I think they were great people to work with. So I enjoyed working. I enjoyed working with those teams every day. So I miss that. And it's also nice contributing to like a larger mission. So
Mhm.
Waze has a really nice mission to eliminate traffic altogether. And being a part of this big mission with the team, that was also really fun. Now I have my own mission
Yeah.
that I contribute to, myself. But it's not exactly the same as Waze trying to tackle traffic all around the world.
And you can always buy the food yourself too. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, now I work at home mostly, so I have, home cooked meals. So that's nice.
Yes,
That's something different, but it's nice. Yeah. I was
definitely.
gonna ask as well, what was your you everybody I think here knows that you had a very similar journey. You left corporate and you decided to found Datacated, and you've been dedicated to that for I don't remember how many years now.
It's
When did you
gonna be
start
4 years
Datacated?
tomorrow, actually.
Oh yeah, four
Tomorrow,
years.
March 20,
Okay.
2020 was like my first full day, and zero regrets. I love the corporate lifestyle because it was the golden handcuffs where you're like, okay, I'm getting this amount of money every 2 weeks. I've got the healthcare,
Yeah.
I've got the paid time off, I've got the the idea that like I can take a week off and come back and nothing's falling apart because there's a team in place. And we were just talking about how I miss the printers and copiers that we used to have
Oh yeah,
access to
of
because
course.
mine is all small and slow sitting over there and it breaks all the time. And then we had those massive copiers.
I
But
miss having an IT team as well.
yeah, somebody who just figures stuff out. Like my husband's my IT team. Like if something breaks, he'll
The same for
yeah,
me. I have to call him in to help me. Yep.
good. We have someone. There we go.
Yeah.
Unpaid labor. But I always knew since I was like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old, I always knew I wanted to have a business. I
Oh
wanted
wow.
to do my own thing, chart my own territories and adventures and tell myself what to do. I always liked to work hard, and I get consumed and obsessed with whatever it is I'm working on. And that doesn't really benefit me that much when I'm at a big corporation, because I'm just giving all this value and then you're getting the biweekly salary, right?
You're giving to somebody else's dream in the end.
Yeah, exactly. You're definitely supporting someone else's giant dream and you're just a small part of it. And yes, you're supporting this larger mission. And I got to work with great, big clients and learn so much and get all that experience. But being on my own is just the best thing. I love it.
I
I have
agree.
no
I'm
problem.
very, very happy. I've been very happy since I left. Even though I left Google and I was happy there, but I'm
Yeah.
happier now on my own. Like having control of the schedule, deciding what you're going to do, like what you're going to dedicate your time to. It's really nice.
Do you struggle with that at all? So, like, if you wake up on a Monday morning and you're like, okay, what do I have to do this week? I know you do a lot of teaching and speaking and all those sorts of things, but if you, let's say, have nothing lined up for that week from a teaching or speaking perspective, what do you actually work on? What do you do?
There's never a week where I don't have anything lined up.
That's crazy.
Always something to do. And
Yeah.
probably you too. We don't have free weeks.
I have 3 weeks.
Did you?
I've made it. Yeah, I have free summers. Almost every summer,
Oh,
I barely worked.
that's so actually I did do that last summer. I took
Yeah.
3 weeks and was in Southeast Asia. And I
Okay.
did kind of fall back from work and not do anything. So it is possible, but
And you didn't have to ask someone, hey, can I
exactly.
take this time? And they're like, no, you could take the next 2 weeks. And you're like, oh, that doesn't work. You didn't have any of that back and
No.
forth.
Nope. I
So,
just had to ask myself. And I
exactly.
approved my vacation.
Yay.
Um,
Yes, you can go. There you go.
I no, the question that you were asking though about time management.
Yeah.
I've actually, and you're more experienced with this after 4 years. I think time management is really difficult when you start off your own business, and it's probably something that you need time to figure out. I've definitely struggled with that. Like sometimes I overbook myself very often because I don't estimate well how much time things are actually going to take. And I don't always factor in time for like the unpredictable things that happen. Like I got sick a couple weeks ago, and it was the first time that I've been like really sick while I've had my business. And
Hmm.
I kept trying to like work slowly to advance things, and then I ended up making myself worse. So then finally I had to just put everything down and stop. But I didn't factor that into my schedule that I would be gone, out for a week and a half. So time management is tough. I think when I don't have anything booked though, like if I'm waking up on a Monday and I don't have any talks or classes sessions to teach, I do a mix of things. So I'll probably work on content creation, as well as doing like research and study. So I've always got talks or classes coming up at some point. It might not be that week or the next week, but the next month. So in my free time, I'm always researching, I'm always reading. I've always got books near me, so
Yes.
that's that's nothing new. But yeah, I would say it's a mix of like content creation and studying, research, and then networking as well. Just
Mm.
talking with people and keeping my network moving.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about having all that free time is the ability to get super creative. So I would just give myself a project like, okay, maybe we need a course on this topic. And I'm like, okay, I'll just think to myself, do a post, do a little poll like, hey, would you guys want this course? And then if the poll comes back positive, I start an outline and I create the course and I record. And no one actually tells you what to do
Yeah.
or if it's going to work or not. But it almost doesn't matter because you just have to keep trying all these different things. And some of them might really stick and go well. And others, there are countless projects I've started, for like 1-2% of my efforts, and it didn't really go as planned, so I just stopped, and no
But
one's there
that's
to
okay.
say,
Like
yeah,
we learn from what doesn't work. We learn from
yeah,
failure, I think.
exactly. And I'm fine with it. Like, I think accepting the fact that not everything's going to be successful, and maybe letting go of that perfectionist in you, it's so relaxing. Then you're like, okay, I could just try it, no pressure.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people have to have in mind if they're going to make a business, is that not everything's going to go as you expected.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to deal with those failures and move on from them.
So, big question for you.
Yes.
A lot of people start a business and they're all excited, and then it comes to actually getting clients, and they're like, "Ooh, I didn't know I had to do that." Like, I thought people, I will just open up the gates and people will flood right in and want my services or products. That's usually not the case. We have to go and get clients. So, tell us, how do you get your clients?
Yeah, lead generation.
Yeah.
So I think my case is not going to be the normal for most people. When I started my business, even before I had started my business, I already was doing a lot of different things on the side. So I was already teaching a lot. I was getting involved in public speaking. I was working with clients on media partnerships, just doing things kind of on the side in evenings, weekends. So when I started my business, I had already begun to get involved in these types of things and move myself within my network. So once I started my business, actually, most of my leads or my clients are either coming from LinkedIn directly, or like word of mouth, or people that I meet at conferences. So and you probably do this, I would imagine as well, Kate, but a lot of times I'll attend conferences or events, local ones or even international ones, networking there, and usually I pick up clients from that as well. When I do things like giving a speech or some sort of session training, people will approach me afterwards and
Mhm.
say, hey, we would love to bring something similar to our company, would you be interested? And we exchange details, and I'll pick up a client from that. So mine, I haven't had to develop any sort of like, I haven't launched any marketing campaigns, for example. Haven't done
Mhm.
any like Google ads or anything like that, which I think a lot of people maybe would go that route.
Yeah.
But if you already have a strong personal brand, and you've already got a network to work off of, you can depend on that, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's much, much easier to start a business when you already have a very relevant, strong personal brand. So, I guess tell the audience, how did you build that personal brand and how did it help you in the business?
Yeah, my personal brand has pretty much only been built through LinkedIn. I don't know how many years now. I've been very active on LinkedIn, posting daily for years and years now, and all about data content as well as books. I don't know if everybody can see the books behind me, but I'm a big reader. So I'm always sharing my thoughts about my latest readings, and then, of course, everything going on in the data world. So as far as building a personal brand, it's all about, I would say, like consistency. You need to be consistent. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's a long-term strategy. So get started now. If you didn't get started yesterday, get started now. Be consistent, share quality content, share content that helps others, and also make sure that I would say, like, your messages are very clear.
Hmm.
You need to ask yourself, like, what do you want to be known for? And depending what that is, start to build content and build your brand around that industry.
I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. So,
Yes. What would you add? What am I missing? I'm sure there's other points too that are important
I
here.
think, like I said, I agree with everything. Picking a platform that works for you is really
Yeah.
important. So for both of us, LinkedIn has worked really well. In some cases, if you have like a fashion business or something similar, Instagram might be the right platform, or TikTok or Facebook, right? So picking the platform, and then I completely agree that the start now, start creating content. A lot of people have this obstacle they put in front of themselves, like, okay, I don't know what to post because it has to be perfect, it has to be a full reflection of me and everything I know. And the answer is no. It does not have to be even great or good. It's just your thoughts on paper, but on the web, right? So it's easy to say just get over it, but really just get over it. The fear of somebody else might see it, because the more you do this, the quickly you'll realize that people have their own lives and they're simply just scrolling through. And if they do see it and start to engage, that means it was relevant for them, then you've actually done a good job at capturing attention. I went from struggling with the fact that like, oh my goodness, somebody might see this content, to a few days later, like, how do I get more people to see this content? Like, it was completely swapped. And then the more you do something, the more comfortable you're going to get. Um, I know everybody has their fears of like maybe being on camera. So starting small with writing comments on other people's posts or writing text posts, then maybe including images and then moving into video. You never actually have to get into video if you don't want to, but it does help build this authentic connection with people.
Yeah.
Like when I go to conferences, sometimes people just approach me and feel like they know me because I've put so much video content out there and they've listened to it. And that doesn't mean I know them back because they've posted nothing or not even liked my content. So I didn't know that they were watching. But I do see that if I watch other people's content, I also think like, oh, I feel like I know them a bit
Yeah.
more.
This
So,
happens. It's true. And I think what you were talking about as well is this problem of imposter syndrome. I think a
yeah.
lot of people get it, especially with sharing content, and also that people overthink as well. That's what you were I think speaking around. Is I see that people are overthinking it. Just put your thoughts out there. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, we've got a question here from Ray. He's
Okay.
asking, do you think it's more important to post consistently or focus on sharing when you have something more meaningful to say? I've got my
So
answer. You go first
okay,
though.
I'll go first and then we'll see if we agree. So I do think consistency is important. And yay, we agree.
Yes, we agree.
I think consistency is important. Like my goal is at least one post a day on LinkedIn. Um, and as far as like having meaningful content, of course, yes, it should be meaningful and quality. I think for some people, it might be a struggle to come up with meaningful content on a daily basis. But I think once you get started, it gets easier. You'll be surprised at how many things you already know or experiences that you have that others would love to hear about. So
Yeah.
you just need to take a step back and think, what can you share from your past experiences, your learnings? I'm sure everybody, we've all got meaningful experiences and thoughts to share. Do
We're
we agree?
definitely on the same page here,
Okay.
Christina. And I think it's just broadening the definition of meaningful to not only include what you think is meaningful, but what does everyone else think is meaningful, right? So, like you just said, you might know this as common sense, but the thousands of people following your page might not know this as common sense. And you sharing that, you're like, oh, that was simple stuff. And they're like, oh my God, that was meaningful, right? So, going back to the consistent factor, I follow somebody on Facebook. She talks about accounting and taxes all the time. And it's stuff like most of it's not even relevant for me. But whenever anyone asks, like, hey, do you know an accountant nearby? And I'm like, oh, yeah, go to this person. Like, she loves the stuff. She's always talking about it. So whether it was meaningful to me or not, I know that that is her brand. Like, she is the accountant person. So definitely keep up the consistency. And
Yeah.
Scott's just adding that everyone has a
Oh
story.
yeah. I agree with you, Scott. It's
I
true.
know
It's true though.
we're getting close to time, but I want to make sure I ask you this question. So you
Yes.
do speaking, you do
Yeah.
teaching, consulting, and influencer work, and I'm sure something else that maybe people don't know about. And you read a lot. Well, reading aside, which one
Oh
of these,
darn it.
if you had to pick
Reading.
one thing, Christina, which you
Reading.
don't, no, not reading. From a work perspective, where do you get the most joy and energy? Is it creating content with influencer marketing? Is it consulting companies on how to do data stuff properly? Is it teaching students or is it speaking to professionals in a conference?
Yeah, this question is really hard for me because every single one of these has a pro. I literally don't know if I can pick a one. I think for me, the thing that I enjoy most is having an impact on people and being
Well,
able to see that impact. And the thing is that all of those things you've listed
yeah.
kind of touch on that. Um, eh, yeah, it's really hard for me to pick something. I don't know if I can answer it, but all of them I love. Creation of content, I think, is like a very creative job. Like it gets my creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
And I can, I can be creative. I can do a lot of different things. And it's a way for me to partner with companies and get interesting ideas or interesting solutions out to the market and share it with others that I think it might be relevant for and have an impact on them in their data journey. As well, obviously, like teaching or public speaking is very clear how you have an impact on others. You are teaching them something and you're watching them grow. So this might be the only question today I cannot answer. But if we added back in reading, my answer would be reading.
That's so funny. Well, the best part is when you're your own boss, you don't have to pick and you
Yeah,
can
see?
literally do it all. I think that's just it. That the fact that you can't pick is why you're doing your own thing because
Yeah,
nobody's gonna make you pick.
it's
And
true. And it's hard to put that's the thing when you have a job at a company is that they put you into a box and
yeah,
they define your roles. But
and
when
it's
you have a
yeah,
company, you can define and also evolve your role over time.
100%. My role has evolved so much since I even started, like even from last year. Like I used to do virtual conferences. I used to have an academy. I used to have a community,
Yeah, I've been
and
following you, evolving over time, and
and
I
it
love
keeps
it.
changing, right?
Yeah, but that's okay. That's good.
And there's nobody out there sitting, "Oh my god, did you see, like, Kate changed something?" Like, no one cares. They're like
Yeah,
they're doing their own thing.
it's
We
true.
might think the world revolves around us, but really, in reality, just do whatever you want.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
Christina, as always, it's been a pleasure. I want you to tell the audience where can they go to learn more about Dare to Data, to follow you. I know you said LinkedIn like 10 times today, and I know
Yes.
you have a LinkedIn learning course. Like, tell us
Yeah.
where to find all your stuff.
Okay, so you can find me on LinkedIn, of course. Just search for Christina Stathopoulos. I also have 2 LinkedIn learning courses,
Mhm,
both about SQL, SQL. The first one is like you can take it as an audio course. It's like 30 minutes, but it's for introducing you to what is the language of SQL, SQL. And then the second one is a hands-on coding course, and it's built for the non-programmer in mind. So this is an
mhm.
audience that I love helping is somebody who doesn't have a lot of data or programming knowledge, and bringing them into the world of data because it's a lot more accessible than people realize.
Yeah.
So that's for LinkedIn. Also, we have a company page, of course. Go to Dare to Data company page, and then the website is daretodata.io.
Okay, and sequel, is that short for squirrel or?
Yes, it is. Do you see the squirrel?
I love that. You're like, yes.
It does stand for squirrel in my world. Yes.
And then in terms of in-person events, what do you have coming up this year?
Yeah. So in-person events, I love both remote and in-person, but in-person has that extra element where you can, mingle with people, network, attend sessions live. So the one that I'm most looking forward to is when I'm going to see you, Kate, at Data Universe. We're going to see each other in New York City in a few weeks at Data Universe.
Yes, I'm so excited for that. Mostly because it's a data conference on the East Coast. Everything else is just in Vegas or California or somewhere. I'm like, why is there nothing here? So I'm excited to have Data Universe coming up in like 2 weeks, April
Yeah.
10th and 11th. Woo!
Yeah, April 10 and 11. If anybody has not heard about it, go check it out. Data Universe, New York City. We're both going to be very much involved there, right? We're
Yes.
going to have some speaking, hosting time. We're
And we
going
have
to
a
have,
booth, a
we
Data
have a booth.
Ventures booth for the
Yes.
first time. Woo!
Yes.
Exciting.
Come find the Data Avengers booth. We will be there.
Yes, we're gonna have fun swag to give away too, which we're
Yes.
still ordering, but it's gonna be there, I promise.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Christina, thank you so much for being on the Dedicated Show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you online.
Of course. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.